Hello everyone, how's your week been? So, hello Burning Bright, how are you? How are things? Seen your work? Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. So, yeah, I don't know when the last time I was streaming. We were trying to create this, but my internet went down. I kind of went off, so we weren't able to make it. So after we're going to continue it and see how this time goes, how things go this time, and of course you can get the reference images from the link. You can get the reference images from the link that you see there. Other than that, let's just dive in and hopefully things go as planned. So I have some allergies, so I won't be speaking too much. I will just be playing the music in the background and just see how things go. And let me just open up a new project here, just loading this image. I can get the reference image from the link that I've provided there. I've started a bit earlier today because I'll be going somewhere, have some errands to run. Yeah, I want to stream a bit longer today, maybe for 3 hours, and see, because I want to see how try to stream a bit longer and see how that if you guys are more interested in that, and see how that goes. Hello Sri Shiva, how are you doing? Hello Sai Aditya, how are you? Glad to see you joining us. Hi Sri. Okay, so I think we can start by blocking out the scene, and then I'm great, and then do the lighting and then texturing a bit later. I want to make this is going to be, I think, about 3 hours. So let's divide each section into 1 hour. Maybe the blocking may not take that long. So let's just get right into it. Just set up my camera. I also want to match the aspect ratio of this image, and if you hit N, you can go to the image details and you should see the dimensions of the image. So let's go set that as our dimension as well, 1920 by 931. That's going to be our dimensions as well. I'll add a plane, scale it up. We go to the camera view here and go into this view. I'll turn on random colors and cavity, maybe even shadow this time. I am coming from Clara. That is in here, I think. How is it there? So let's start blocking out things here. And a great way is to use your Gillis pencil to just see the structure here. We have a street that is going like this, and then we have maybe another street here, maybe a building that's around here, and then we have this tree somewhere in the middle here. So this is going to be our tree. It's a good way to start by planning your scene a bit, and that's what I'm going to be doing more. Now we have some buildings, medieval buildings here and here, so I guess this would also be a block like that, and we can have our camera rotated just a bit so it can see the street from that angle. I'm not sure if this is coming through the live stream and the YouTube compression better. That's going to be our plan. I'm going to change the camera to a 30mm. Now let's start blocking out these, just following the same. Let's grab this, and now we can add in a sun. I started Blender by just watching YouTube tutorials, like you're doing. And I'm going to turn on lights so that you can see the sun. And maybe also turn on ambient occlusion. Just block this. Hello screen. A screen under. Okay, so we can start with very basic cubes like that. They can help us figure out the scale, and I can also add in. Let me go to my asset library and medieval and go to my characters. Just add in a standard character for scale. Like that. Let me just select this. Make him editable so that I can make a few changes here. Just grab this down. Yeah, something like that. For scale, now you can see we have a few different buildings, and again can go back to the top view and just continue blocking out this. Have another, so this is going to be our street, and we also have another building just partly showing off, visible here. Now we can also have other buildings in the back like that. Now we can vary the heights of these buildings. Just go into edit mode. You bring this down, bring this up, down. Hello Ganja Farmer, how are you doing? It's been a while since I last saw you. Where have you been, my man? I just pull the camera just a bit back, maybe even bring it down a little bit, like that. I think I want to have some shadows, so we're going to have the sun coming from this direction. You make an environment scene of bridge. I make that. So you meaning you remade it as well? Nice, nice, nice. Good to hear. So have this tall building. I think I'm just going to make that. So let me also. Now we can start adding extra detail. Maybe making some of these buildings a bit wider. Just going to use local or normal for the orientation of our gizmo. Let me turn off these shadows. If we can go into render mode, let me first save this as medieval, as a medieval town. And we can add a sky in the background. Let me see. Or we can just use a plane. Scroll, rotate Y. I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees. Just make sure to face it to the camera. Been good, thanks. Yeah, lots to do, just managing my asset library with the 3.0 Blender. Ah, nice. Yeah, so we want this to be our sky background or sky texture, so I'm just going to do that right here. So let's add a texture, gradient texture. Now we have that gradient. You can scale this up just a bit like that, and start playing with the colors. So this can be a light blue. Let me see, make sure that it's visible. So it's not visible. We're going to change this to something like 300 millimeters so that we can see our sky. Like that. So that's going to be our sky, and you can even add a math node up here, just here, and change this to power. And maybe move this. Now this can be fed into an emissive shader, and that's going to be our sky, because I want to have control over my lighting. That's why you see I'm not using a sky texture, which would be good for the sky, but in Eevee it doesn't really give us a good lighting, I think. Hello Outlaw, how are you doing? Glad to see you. Okay, let's play with the lighting again. I don't know, maybe let me also turn on contact shadows and reduce this angle to something like 3 so that we have some sharp shadows around there. Let me give this, okay, something like that. And we can make this maybe bluish, a little bit bluish. Bring the value a bit down like that, so that is kind of a bit down. You do all this live stream to create your portfolio or job. Well, I love doing creating Blender, and I also sell these on my Patreon, and I also growing my portfolio as you suggested. Yeah. Let's go in here and block out this centerpiece. Just going to go with a circle. Hey man, hey Zigzag, glad to see you around. Going to extrude. Again, we can come back to this later, but for now we're just blocking out things. So that's the centerpiece of our street. It may be a bit too large, so let me maybe bring it even closer. And let's add an environment, a texture. Let me add a cube, sorry, an environment, or what is it called? A volume. It's going to add a new material, shader, principal volume. And what we want to use this time, we don't even need the density. We can just use the emission value. Just have it to be somewhere like that. Then we can go into our viewport. I'll change this to wireframe, so we have something like this. And to get more detail or more resolution, I'm just going to, from the volume, I'm just going to make sure that the camera distance is set to something very small. So around, I want the volume to start at around, let me see, if I calculate the distance from the camera. I want it to start at around 18 meters, and the end, it can end at 70, so we get a more resolution. Volume make the render so much longer. I prefer using any mist pass. It comes cost-free after compositing. Yeah, but if you're using Eevee, it doesn't really, because most of the time I'm just using Eevee to render, so it doesn't really cost me as much. It's especially very, very slow when you're using cycles. So we are done with the blocking. Let me first look at my lighting again. Now, this looks good, but the problem is we're losing some detail in different areas. Let's try using an environment map. Also, let me make sure that this is not casting any shadows. If we add a sky volume and a world, a sky texture, and use any of these, okay, this doesn't look too bad. You just have to reduce on the amount. And also I'm just going to go inside here, turn on bloom, and maybe even just turn on screen space reflections. Or something like that. Now let's go start detailing some of these blocks. Now maybe some of these buildings are too large for our scene, so we can start by maybe blocking out this building here, which is one of the tallest buildings we have. So I'm just going to use my texture folder add-on. So let me go to texture folders and just load in. Let me go to resources, walls. I think I can load in my walls, and let's see what texture we can use here for the building. We can start with something like, I think we can start with this texture here and create a new material. Now let me isolate this building for a second. Create a PBR shader, and we're going to use object mapping for this. So this is a nice texture to start with. What do you think about Squid Game and the hot new series? Yeah, I've watched it. It's quite a nice. Yeah. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't watched it, but it's quite a good series. I want to get this. I want to affect the color here, so go to color, mix RGB, change the color. Has everyone watched Squid Games? I've only, I think, watched about 3 or 4 episodes. I haven't completed the series yet, so no spoilers just yet. I'm just going to make this roughly that color. So that's going to be our wall. You haven't watched it? Aditya, what Astro you have? Nice. I haven't completed it yet. And now this is going to be our wall, and we can now add some of these columns, and those shouldn't be difficult. We can just add a cube, and to make things much easier, what we can do, instead of using a cube, we can just use a plane and just give it a solidify modifier like that. And can just place it around there. Give it a solidify as a bevel. Yeah, no spoilers, man. No spoilers. Hardened, and then auto smooth. Now we can give this its own texture, so I'll call this wood. Now using my texture folder add-on, I'll just go to my wood texture. I will just navigate to my wood folder. Wood. This is wood. Link that, and I can look at some of the wood textures I have. I think this is good. Can create a PBR material from this. I just use object mapping. Now that looks already usable. I can mix it with a different texture, maybe this. Import as a texture node. Just look at this. Make sure it's also using object mapping. Now this rotation is a bit off. So what I can do is just grab this vector map and just rotate this, try rotating this 90 degrees, which is creating some stretching issues. Let's say 45. Can be a bit difficult to get the right rotation. I think around this, I'm okay with this. Then I can blend this other two here. Yes. Maybe use an overlay for this. Do box project and 100 blend. Box project and 100. I'm not sure what you mean there. Let's try multiply. And maybe add a hue and saturation and increase the value a bit, and bring the saturation down. Actually, the value can stay. Let's go back to the reference image. Let me first get rid of this. It's a bit too dark, so maybe around there, and use this as the reference as well. That we want to add maybe a convert math node. I think you need to apply the scale and smart UV unwrap. Yeah, I don't want to use smart UV unwrap because then that would mean I would have to UV unwrap every piece of wood that I create. That's why you see I'm using object mapping. No, I don't think. Let me see. Can have this somewhere like that, and maybe add a color ramp. Then invert. Yeah, that's our wood piece, and I think it came out nicely. We can add, not a hue, but we can add a color mix RGB node. Change the operation to color. Now we can change the color to whatever we want here. And now with that, I can just extrude this to the height of the building. It can even increase the solidify thickness. I think it doesn't have to be this long. It can be the length of maybe a story. And I can also add a mirror modifier here. Mirror, 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 mirror. Just select this as the mirror, like that. Now I can duplicate this. I think I can have this here. Duplicate this again. Scale it on the Y. I rotate this. Just grab this. And it's just I think it's something like that. This on the Z. Grab this edge, and you can also get another block. Let me change this to the orientation of this to local. Rotate this on the rotate X 90 degrees. Just make sure that I have the right rotation here. Let me turn on clipping. Grab this edge. And so that would be the first. Actually, let me see. I'm looking at this and how it's being detailed. We can start with just marking where the single stories are. We duplicate this. Scale this. Just have this up around there. And I think I can also grab this and make sure I'm using normal. Rotate this on the Z. Just change this to local. And you can see how things are getting much detailed. And one trick you can do is if you have ambient occlusion turned on, you can go in here and add an input ambient occlusion node. Now that will give you an ambient occlusion mask, which we can, let's first increase the distance. And if you add a convert color ramp, you can control the contrast of this. If you go in the ambient occlusion itself, you can increase the distance to maybe 1 meter and the factor to 2, or even use the distance here to make this more pronounced, or even add a convert math node before here. Change this to power to make the effect more pronounced. If you see that there's a lot of noise, you can increase the samples to get more samples. And the use of this, we can use this as a mask. And I'm just going to get another node here. And you can already see how that looks. So this is going to be multiply. Actually, let me see. Is this set to color? It looked somewhat. With this set to color. This has to be set to multiply. And you see, we get that kind of darker corners as they meet up with this, which is nice. And I think for these blocks here, instead of using object mapping, we can use UV. That way we can easily align them to the faces. Let me see. Should we use object or no more? Yeah, I think we can use object. You can use UV. Change this to flat. Change this to flat as well. And you can see how the building is starting to shape, which is nice. Nice, I think. And these blocks, I think, don't have to be this thick. And just flatten this. Grab this edge. And maybe this is a bit thinner. Like that. Okay. Now I'm looking at the design of this. I think this block here. Yeah, I think that's the size it should be. Just grab these edges, pull them up. Around there, and this can be a bit thinner, and connect it there. Can duplicate it, mirror on the. Let me change this to local orientation. Mirror this on the Y. Shift N. I sometimes use ambient occlusion mask to add moss or mold to buildings. What you did, it's really good if you want to bake the albedo combined with ambient occlusion for games. Yeah. That works very well for because if you just bake the albedo, then you will lose the ambient occlusion because you will have it here turned on, but it won't be baked in the albedo. So if you have the ambient occlusion connected to your albedo, then mixed with your albedo before you bake, adds some extra detail. Andrea from Torture with some nice tips for you there. So courtesy of him. Okay, so this is building one, and let's create a window, a medieval window here, and maybe some doors. I think we can also grab this piece here. Let me go in here first, turn off clipping, just so I can move this around like that. This also need to be extended to this side, so I'm just going to borrow this edge loop, extrude Y on X. Hello Erix, how are you doing? How are you, Divya Purohit? Glad to see you. Okay, and this piece also has to be unwrapped. You can duplicate it here and duplicate it up there, duplicate it again for up. And I think we also need to extend this up Now for the doors, those should be super simple, or for doors and windows. Let's first add in these small details. Let me grab a face of this, Shift D. And the nice thing is that after we create this cage, or this structure, wooden structure for one building, we can reuse it for even smaller buildings or larger ones, since they don't really differ that much. So rotate this on the X like that, pull this in. Now one mistake I did is I rotated this building before adding the details. That's why you see that we have to rotate in, and we're struggling some rotations. Like that. Grab this face, Shift D, bring that in. Can be maybe somewhere like that. Now let's make some windows and doors. That should be very simple. I can simply just grab any of these frames. I don't need the Y. Actually, let me first get rid of the mirror, just to make things much easier. So this is our frame. And right away you can see how usable it can be with other elements. So let me mirror this on the Y. Let me mirror this. You can see we can use it, this frame. Just need to fix the rotation a bit. Just fix the rotation like that. Grab this. Could easily use this on this building, and let's do that before we get into other things. Just going to rotate this, just align it correctly like that, and just pull it down, and we have that. Okay, and then I can even just mirror this on the X. Just make sure that or just mirror this. Let me first reset the origin of this to geometry and just use this object as our mirror object. Just pull this out a bit. Let me first mirror this on the Y, Control M, Y, so that the editable side is on my side. Maybe use clipping. Could you solo the building and then place it properly? Place it in the proper perspective. Which building exactly? I would have snapped the wood to the faces of the building and solidify it in the inverse direction. So you have to correct the facing. So to have the correct facing all the time. The correct facing changes when you duplicate the mesh, and maybe even when you try to whenever you mirror the faces, and I mirror them a lot. Hello, Peter Stamp. You're currently in school? I hope you are not in class right now. You just because you can't learn two things at once. I think, unless your mind works far better than mine. So you can see how we can even just set this texture as the new texture for all the building blocks. Control L, link material, like that. Our ambient occlusion needs, we can change the viewport to 16 samples, and the ambient occlusion for this material, let's try 64. Of course, it's going to be, it might be a bit slower. Then maybe let's change the distance to something like 10 so that it's not overwhelming the scene. Like that. And let me also make the ground, give it some detail. And for the ground, I can, let me see, we want it to be a little bit uneven. So I'm just going to subdivide this, or just use a multi-resolution surface. Let me turn on wireframe. You're multitasking? Yeah, I really hope you're paying attention to your class, man. I wouldn't want you to fail. Let's do subdivide this linearly. You can see the subdivisions. Now, the issue with using multi-resolution is subdividing the entire mesh when we just want just this part. So what we can do is duplicate this mesh, scale it down like that to where the camera is mostly going to see, and the rest can be undivided. Let's maybe unsubdivide this a few. Yeah, somewhere like that. And now after that, we can add a text, a displacement surface, displacement texture, displacement. Where is that? Displacement. Can't see my displacement. Yeah, here, new texture, and we can use just a cloud texture like that. Just bring down, let me turn off wireframe, shade smooth. I just bring down the strength quite significantly. So we have a very uneven surface like that. And then, yeah, I think something like that. And I don't think we even need this plane in the background. Hi, these tutorials are so informative. I have to go to work, but I will watch offline. No problem, man. Glad to see you here. Ambient occlusion in Eevee is a screen space effect. So depending on the camera you are looking at, the scene from your different, you will get is different. It's going to be different. If you look in the camera view, it will never change. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. You can see already that when I move, for example, here, and especially at the edges of your viewport, you'll see that the ambient occlusion start to fade a bit because I don't know. Even when I move the viewport a bit, you can see this is, yeah, it changes a bit. The ambient occlusion changes a bit. But if you, like he said, like Andreas said, yeah, when you're in camera view, it doesn't really matter that long. How long did it take you to learn Blender? Man, I'm still learning Blender. It's an ongoing thing. It doesn't seem like you can learn and finish. Let me go back to the world and change this to 0.1. Let me see where all my light is coming from, because see, seem to have a different source of light. You know, this should be in the base color, and I should be previewing the node like this. Yeah, learning Blender will never be over because Blender continues to grow. You never stop learning, man. 0.1. And let me bring back the sun and the clouds and our fog. I think the scene is starting to look much better. Let's bring this to 5. Just let me first remove this, or just hide it into a backup collection let me go to my outliner and just disable that for a second. Go back to my UV editor or UV. When did you start to learn Blender? I started using Blender in, I think it was 2010, when Blender 2.47 was released. That's when I got interested. I think Back Bunny was had just been released as well, and Blender game engine. Blender had a game engine, and that's what got me into Blender, and it also got me into Python because you couldn't make games without Python. So that's how I got into Python, and that's how I also got into Blender. Yeah, so this is, let's create a new material for our surface here. And for that, I'm just going to use again my texture folder add-on. I'm just going to link my PBRs. Let's go to grounds, link that, and see what kind of PBR materials we have in here. I have this stone-like surface, and I think that would work very well here. So let's create that material, and just going to use object mapping. Maybe even apply the scale of this, and just bring other scale up a bit, something like that, Then I'm going to create another material for this. Let me just add a temporary sphere here to hold that surface material, and that is going to be this surface, kind of a grass surface. So I'll create a PBR material for this as well, and that is going to be applied to this surface. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I want to copy all these nodes from this surface, Ctrl C, and paste them into this material. So we have two surfaces like this. And now what I'm going to do is blend the two like that, using a shader, a mixed shader. I've heard you talking about Blender game engine in another video of yours, but I was wondering if it even exists because I've never seen anything on it. Yeah, so Blender, the Blender game engine was duplicated, or it was removed from Blender after the introduction of Blender 2.5. That's why you never hear anyone talking about it. It was removed, but I had someone forked Blender and added the game engine. So what remains of the Blender game engine is being created by someone else, not the Blender team itself. I think it was the right decision to just concentrate on Blender, not the Blender game engine, because Blender game engine, because there are a lot of other open source engines. So this is what exists as the previous game engine, and and I think he's using the earlier version before Blender 2.8. Actually, he's using Blender the latest version. If you want to use the Blender game engine, this is what remains of it. So just a community supported engine, but the old game engine was removed. Actually, this is how it looked like, and I can see how the old interface looked like as well. Actually, it seems like it existed after 2.59, because this is 2.59. Might have been wrong about that. So so we're going to use. So we have blended the two of these materials, but I want to add a new texture, image texture. It was there. It got dropped I think for the good reasons, because maintaining two programs, because the game engine is also as complicated as Blender itself. So supporting those two projects would have been very, very difficult. Okay, so we have created an image here, and we're going to use it as a mask for the two textures. And I want to paint. The roads should be a mix of the green and the white. So, and let me first unhide everything. Let me first hide this for a second and see how things look. I'm going to select this, go to texture painting, texture paint, select this image and start painting. You can see now we are revealing this stone texture. And another thing I'm going to make sure to do is make sure you save the image. I'll call this texture paint, and I save it as a PNG, as that will hold more information than JPEG. When setting the resolution or value, if you click and drag both, you can set them both. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so let's just make sure that the roads get that kind of stone material. So just paint around there, paint around there, paint around there, and maybe around this area as well. And I'll do something like that. But let me also bring this a bit down so that we have a blend of the two. Now, after you're done, you can save this. Make sure that you have saved this. And since we have that as an image, we can reuse it somewhere else. So let me just go back to Object and see what we have. We can use this image as a texture, as a displacement texture. So I'm just going to add another displacement texture on top of what we have. Displacement, new material, new texture, and this time we're going to use an image. And the image we're going to use is the same image that we have just painted. And I think I called it, let's just Untitled. You can see how this looks. Let's make sure that it's using the mapping is using UV mapping. So just give it an input texture coordinates UV. Too bad the camera angle won't show the ground very much. Yeah, we can switch that if you want. So this is our, just make sure that this is actually using that. And I'm going to go back to the displacement here. Just actually, I want to make sure that this texture is using, let me see, we need to go to here and change the coordinates to UV, and you can already see that the ground is being displaced according to our displacement map, but this has to be inverted, I think. So, and this has to be displaced in the Z direction. Now we have two displacement maps. Make sure that this is using a clouds texture. Bring the strength. Maybe subdivide this even further. Okay, it becomes a bit heavy for my PC, but that's not a lot. Let's go back here. Go to the displacement, just scale the noise up. I think the subdivisions are too much for my PC, so let me just set this to 8 and go back to the noise. Yeah, something like that. And bring that subdivision a bit down, the strength of this a bit down, and then add in our rod like this and hide everything. And there you can see it creates some nice detail in there. So let me first remove this. Let's go back to our reference image, which is here. Now I'm just going to go to the world settings, make this, change the time of day, and maybe make even this texture more brighter and more colored, like that. Now we still need to add more detail here. Create a window, create windows, create. Let me see if I have some. If I go to my asset library and my medieval pack, if I have any windows, because I've created a few windows. Actually, we can even start decorating this. I have this trading cart that I can add in here. Yeah, this can use the same material as this. Needs to be UV unwrapped. I'm just going to use box projection for that. Maybe reduce the strength of this just a bit, maybe 0.1, so we can see the rest of the buildings more properly. And if I turn this off, so that we can continue detailing this building. Yeah, so let's work on that window. So I'm just going to start with a cube, sorry, a plane like this. Go back to the top and I just rotate it. Actually, let me just this time do this correctly. I'm just going to just isolate this for a second. I just give it the same material, wood material that we had. Give this a solidify modifier. I scale solidify modifier like that. Give this a bevel and auto smooth added normals like that. And we can now just I think we can just bevel these edge loops like this. Delete this face and I can select these two edges. Just hit V to separate them. Now you see we have our window like that. And I can even grab this edge loop, this here, Do you use sampling tree? I rarely use a sampling tree, but I know about it. Yes. Scale this. Just duplicate this a few times like that. And if you want, you can even just make an actual window door. Actually, what you need is just have these we don't need these edge loops. And actually, I think I can also just separate this into its own object. Reset the origin. If you unwrap this again, and reduce the bevel, or sorry, the thickness of our of the solidify, and just duplicate this, shift the rotate this 90 degrees, and this is going to be a support 4 by, I don't know, 4 by something for this. And then actually this can also work as our door. I think we can rotate this something like that. Now the origin can be somewhere here, origin to 3D cursor. Origin to cursor, and we can have this rotated, can be around there, and that's our window. I think now all we have to do is just place it somewhere. So I'm just going to parent this to this, Control P to object, just rotate it. And maybe I can select both, go into edit mode, select everything, pull it down like that. Have that there. Or maybe another one. Let me just select and for the building itself, we can just go to edit mode, and add a window area like that. So I can just extrude. Then we have a window area like that. Okay, so I think this needed to be on the side, maybe somewhere here. That's how we can just duplicate this. Just grab this, have it here. And just make sure that I'm using local. Can scale this down like that. Duplicate it again. Maybe just rotate this. Let's see. I think I can mirror this on the X so that this is facing this side like that. Alt D, Alt D, just duplicate this up, scale down, Alt D, so we have something like that. Now you can see our window is our building is becoming a bit more detailed. Now we can duplicate this, Shift D, this can be the door that can go into edit mode. I don't need these bars anymore for this, since this is a door, and you can make this taller. Just grab it somewhere to move it to the top like that. Just add a supporting loop there, grab this, extrude in, delete. So we have something like that. Now we need something for the roof, but before we do that, I think we can add in some windows to this as well. Just going to add a few loops like that. Just grab this window. Now what I'm going to do is, let me see. Just join this and this. Let me first make sure that this is a single object and not linked. So relationship, make single user object data, and then just join the two like that. Now we can duplicate this, have it here. Just give it the right rotation now. Like that. And I can use an array. And then we can come in here. Actually, instead of doing that, we can just use a cube. Just reorient it, rotate it like this, and I just use it as a boolean. Actually, just use it as a boolean for this. So boolean, and I can use first. This can be wire. Then we can use the array modifier on this. Why did you link it like that? What happens the other way with just J? Why did I link it? Or why do you mean why did I unlink it? Because I unlinked it. The reason why I just unlinked it, I unlinked it first, because if I didn't unlink it, I have this was as an instance of other objects like this. So any changes I make to this are going to be added to the other objects. That's why you see, yeah, there were instances, not copies. And that's why I first unlinked it. So that any changes I make to this, then they are not applied to the instances, other instances of the same object. Okay. Can also just duplicate this again. I'm thinking maybe this time we can just make this a bit taller somewhere here. Just going to grab these. Like that. And just adjust the roof to be the same size, and I can duplicate this, or I can just add another array on top of this, This time should be on the Z axis, and do the same for this array Z. I think this time is going to be the Y, like that. And now, since we have done a lot of work working on this, we can just grab it and just get the entire building, just move it to its own collection. I'll call this building 1, hit OK, and now I can apply it, reuse it as an instance. So collection building, and I can see now is we can reuse it as an instance, even somewhere like this. Actually, I like how it's protruding out like this, so I'm just going to use it. Just going to reuse it here. And we can also add some doors to this. So I'm just going to grab this, Shift D, join this. This is our door. Have it somewhere there. And I think we also need another window. This time I don't even need to use the extrude or the, if I stand on wireframe. Just have it here. Just grab this edge loop, extrude in, then I can delete that, and I can duplicate this again. This time we don't need the arrays. This is just going to be a single window, randomly placed like that. And in the same way, this building block can be added as an instance and reused. So I'll just hit M, building 2. Then now I can import it as an instance again. So Shift A, instance, building 2, and can just, yeah. Let's see. Okay, this is too tall, but what we can do is just have it somewhere, maybe in the back here. I'll replace this cube, that maybe bring it forward just a bit, and have that nice detail protruding through, which is nice. Another thing we can do is let's go back to the outliner. Let me split this into an outliner. Go to building 1 or building 2. I'm just going to duplicate this. Let me first isolate this, duplicate this collection, duplicate collection, like that. This is going to be building 3. And this time what I want to do is I only want the top floor. So what I can do is just get rid of the bottom floor, which is a bit harder than I thought, but we can just select the faces at the bottom here. Let me first make sure that let's first get rid of these. First I need to get rid of this array. Just grab these. This shouldn't have that array. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm doing something wrong here. I just need to make sure that only this, just looking at this, that I'm only looking at this. And what I want to do here, why do you use booleans? Because they make things a bit faster. I like a faster workflow. That's why I say I use them a lot. I'm just going to let me first get rid of these lines I drew earlier on. So this is our building. I want only the top floor. I think I can also make this wood surface look a bit darker, maybe. Maybe this time let's use object for this. And I'm just going to get this, change this to object. After applying the modifiers, why did I use booleans after applying the modifier? I don't even remember doing that. So maybe it was a mistake. It is possible that that was a mistake. I don't remember doing it, so. Okay, so what I want, let me first examine this building a bit. I want this top here, this part here, to end there. So we can get rid of this. Just make sure that this goes up to there. And if I select this, also make sure that you don't have an array for that. And this window here sets around there. And our door is up there. What graphics card are you using? You can type in specs and you see my setup. I was saying you should use booleans to cut the building. I think it's what I'm using, except for the door, because yeah, I thought it would be much faster to just use that. And then we just grab everything down here, except this piece. It just have to be up there. Now, this is a new building. The roof is still missing, but we can come back to that later. And because we're using instances, it should be very easy. So I'm just going to bring this to the center, bring it on, just change this to global. And that's our block, building 3. this needs the array back. And the reason why we created the other one, the second building or the third building, so building 3, is we can do things like let me rotate this 90 degrees, rotate this 90 degrees. Actually, this wouldn't be too bad if I just had another piece of this. Actually, let's try. We can make the building kind of come out like that. I think it would be that's a medieval style that you see very often, a building pushed out like that. So we can reuse it here. 51 likes, 51 viewers. Thank you guys, really appreciate it. If you're new here, it would be amazing if you joined us by becoming a subscriber. And let me also rotate this. Can also have this maybe around there. And I can also reuse this, maybe mirror this on the Y. Yes. Now, these usually are supported by some kind of column that looks something like this. So let me just get that. I'm just going to create a plane. Give it the same modifiers as this. Control L, link materials first, link then modifiers at we don't need the mirror. So I want to create a beam that supports these extensions, and it's usually in this structure. It's in usually this form. Let me first grab this. Usually in this form. Has some kind of deco. Yes. Yeah. Out of mouth. So they usually, the structure of these beams is usually something like this. So I think we can also use it maybe. Yeah, this looks, it doesn't look like the kind of wood they would use. So looks like it's called a Tudor style. Yeah, I think so. I saw a YouTube video about it, and that's what reminded me of them. So I think I just have to now rotate this, give this an array. Give this an array. Something like that. If you want, you can even just grab a piece and have it hanging there, maybe. And we can also grab this piece, Shift D, and add it here on this block. Just some nice detail to add in. If we bring our fog, yeah, it brings out the scene. I think what I'm going to do as an extra detail, I'm just going to go into this material here. Let's go to the original building, which should be this. I'm just going to go to this material and use this detail as a bump. Actually, you know, kind of like that white paint. Just connect this as a normal. Yes. Bring this a bit down. And I'm going to add a convert color ramp. Just make sure that we don't have too much reflections. Thank you, Zigzag. Hello, Mascara. But why did you use stone texture displacement on the ground material? The stone texture displacement on the ground material. Did I use it as a displacement? I don't think I use it as a displacement. I only have a noise texture for the displacement and the road texture paint we created. The road itself is not a displacement, so the noise is giving us some small detail in the surface. Maybe let's push the camera back a bit. Let me also just go into the settings here, and we don't need volumetric shadows, but we can go in the settings, use high contrast, maybe even change the colors a bit. Just go to the blue channel. Let's first go to, let's see, what else can we do? Let's look at this for a second. There's a lot of snow, and I'm debating whether to add snow because we already have a lot of things in this scene. So, and my PC is not that powerful. It's not the most powerful PC. So, okay. We can add in a tree as well in the center. Let me get the camera just okay, something like that. You can add, let me see what else can we add. Let me see how this looks in cycles first, and then we can see what else to add. Doesn't look that different. Let's look at our lighting. Just going to move this into a lighting collection, and this volume 2 can be hidden first. I think you can change this to somewhere like that. And I'm going to go to this. Let's see if I change this to something like 2. You can use medieval interior photos, images as a plane in the to hint some interior details. But we're not going to be seeing a lot of interiors in this one. I don't think so. Let me see. I think I have this kind of, I don't know how it's called, somewhere. I see buildings. Shops. I have this somewhere. I'm not remembering. Anyway, let's bring back the fog. And make this material a bit darker. So let's grab this. I'm going to use botanicals or polygonic botanical assets and see if I can get something I can add here. Have some nice leaves here. Let's add them. Let me first hide this fog here. It slows down everything quite significantly. Let's add in just some small details like that can just make things look much better. And I think you can see that that small detail leaves. I don't really care about their actual scale because yeah, they're just helping us adding some small details. And actually, if I scale them up, you won't know that they are leaves, but they're going to add in some nice details. Maybe let's even scale them maybe like that. Let's see. I have some plants here. Let's add that somewhere. Okay, it's too green. It would have been better if it was not as green as it is right now, but yeah, maybe make it editable so that I can play with the colors a bit here. Grab this material. Let me see. So this is the base color. You can play with the hue. So that's a bit more brownish like that. Yeah, I think that fits the scene much better. Okay, this has become too white. Let me just like something like that. Yo, thank you for subscribing. Premix. Let's see. I have some trees with snow, but I don't think we're going to be making any snow stuff right now because, yeah. Have some flowers, some pots. Actually, the pots can be very useful here. By the way, if you want to get botanical, let me give you a link. Botanical, this add-on that I'm using, I have a referral code, which, yeah, that you might use if you want to get it, and it helps out the channel. That's botanical for you. Comes with a bunch of stuff that we could use, and these, I think, are quite nice for this scene. Just adding a bunch of stuff in different places. Now, I have created a lot of medieval scenes in the past. Let's see if we can find stuff there. So I'll just go into. I just haven't organized them and placed them into my asset library. So let's see if I can find something. Models. Let me go medieval. Cauldron concept art. Let me see if I can find something we could use. No, it's very hard to find them without using the asset library. So let's go to the library and see if we can get other things in here. I have crossbows, but those don't fit the scene very well. Go to the object. Have this cauldron. And let's bring back our fog. It's too blue for our scene. It's too saturated. Something like that. We still need a lot of things here to add in here. Maybe let me go to my building parts or furniture. See if I have anything that we could use here. Actually, these, let me see if I can use them. These beddings. Yeah, I think we can use this. It was supposed to be a bed part, but I think we can make it work here. Just need to give it a nice material. It's too clean, so we can use maybe the ambient occlusion, or better, we can use the quick decals add-on to just make it a bit messy. So I'll go into my resources, find some decals, actually not there, and go to my actually I should go to my resources, decals, find something like this, or this could work. Let me first isolate this for a second, then add to the scene. Just going to create a plane with this material, and all I have to do is align it, maybe align it like this. And I can also add shrink wrap and select this as the target. Let me go to local mode, or local orientation. Just pull this back down like that. Just make sure it fits correctly. Now this thing has too many polygons, especially facing the wrong direction, so just going to delete those. Now we have this. I can go into the offset here, shrink wrap offset, and I can see I have simply made this dirty without doing a lot of work. Maybe offset this even further, or increase the subdivisions to get more detail. And we can see it's made it dirtier without doing too much work. Maybe even play with the color of this just a bit. Let's go back to you should make the dead tree, it is important. I should make the, I was kind of trying to avoid that. But okay, so to make the dead tree shouldn't be that hard. We can just start with, let's see the shape. Can start with a plane like this. Go to edit mode and just make extrusions like that to shape this. And I can even just go in different, rotate the camera as you're doing this. Actually, the best way to do this, I think, is just go with a curve instead of a mesh. Give it and a geometry, give it a bevel like that, and just let me change this to automatic. Just start moving this around in different spaces like that, and select the last point, turn on proportional editing, and then use Alt S to shrink everything at the end like that. Now you see we have one branch. Another thing you can do here is just reduce on the resolution, so things are not that sharp. So something like that. Then I can start from here, Shift D, Control E, just to create a different branch like that. Again, use the same trick, Alt S, to shape this, and you can turn on, make sure you have connected only like that. And maybe we can even just do this while this is in the scene. So somewhere I'm also going to give it, simply just give it the same material as this, and link materials. And let me now isolate this. You can see the progress. Just duplicate, maybe make this a bit wider at the bottom. Shift D, turn off proportional, turn off proportional. I can leave it at on. Just start making another branch off of this. Maybe just move this, and you can still make changes to this. And after you're done with the single branch, you can just duplicate it and have it in different areas. So I can even just grab this piece, Shift D. Let me make sure that's just so you can make this as detailed as you're doing. So you can see why I'm not using sampling tree. It's this is also a faster way to. You don't necessarily need the sampling tree or an add-on to create the tree, the dead tree. Now the problem is our textures. Actually, the textures look fine, but they look a bit dark here, or maybe even more reflective. So what I'm going to do is just make sure this is a single material, or you should okay, or use snow on tree botanic to change the color of it. Okay, let's make sure this is okay, something like that. Let's see if I rotate this. And even turn on this if I want to adjust other tree. Yes. Yeah, so somewhere like that. The tree looks too reflective. So maybe do something like that. Our lighting is a bit meh, so let's fix it. I'm just going to first turn off everything that is adding light to our scene. First isolate this, get the sun, move it to the lights collection, turn that off. So currently that's what we are looking at. Now let's try to make things look better. Just going to hide this as well. And I think I'm going to add, instead of using a sun, let's try using a very large area light here, or a very powerful area light. So just use something like that. And just so we have more control over the lighting. bring back everything except the sun. I think we're getting too much light from this area, so I'm just going to get this building. I think the shadow is too harsh. You think so? So just trying to improve our composition a bit by yes. Duplicate this. I wrote the shadow problem before you changed the light from sun to area, so don't worry. Okay. Nice. Let me see. Okay, I think there is a lot of light here. When we don't have a lot of detail, and I usually want to hide those areas that don't have a lot of detail and keep them away from the light. So let's find a way. Just trying to see if just adding more buildings can help. Just use anything you get, I got, to add more detail. Okay, so our tree looks a bit it's not as high detailed as I would want it to be, and I don't really want to spend too much time on this. So I'm just going to use something from here. Let's try this one. Better. Looks better. The other issue I'm seeing is that the character we're using doesn't really fit the scene properly. Because of the kind of clothes he's wearing. Maybe what we can do is get something from Mixamo. Can get kind of a medieval character from Mixamo. Let me see. Let me push this, bring this down a bit. Trying to see if there is other thing we can add in, but most of the things I have are kind of modern in nature, so anyway, let's get some character from Mixamo. First log in here. Now, let's see if I add a light source around here, how that looks. I'm not against something like that. Let's go to Mixamo and see if we can get ourselves a medieval. Yeah, got this. This guy can do regional pose. Yo, thank you for subscribing, Mitch Ferran. Now we can also get this other light here, and maybe duplicate it, have it somewhere in there. Yes, sir. It's a very fog day. People need to keep warm, so let's give them some warm light. Maybe some soft shadows as well. Let's see if this is an area light, how it would work. And if we made this, instead of using emission, if we made this, if we give this a density of maybe 0.0, and maybe some slight emission. Can you just, for a second, switch to cycles out of curiosity? Okay, let me try. Hopefully that doesn't crash at the stream. Okay. And let me use GPU. Save? Yeah, I've saved. And I have some booleans, these objects here that are blocking the light. This should be in a this should be in the BK or backups. Of course. Yes, that's why I kind of try to disable volumetrics for viewport. But our entire look is dependent on the volumetrics. But let's disable that and see. Yeah, I was expecting that to happen. So let me see. Where can I find? Let's go back to this. Yeah, if I try to switch to cycles, that's what happens. I was trying to see how things would look. Let's reduce the volume a bit. Point 0.005. Let me see if Mixamo is downloaded. It has downloaded. So let's import the character and see. Import FBX, downloads, this guy here. Okay, so that doesn't import for some reason. Let me see from a different angle how this scene looks. I think we can just grab some of these leaves. Yes. And maybe to kind of this guy, I'm just going to add a cape on him. You know what? I can use my cloth library add-on. Cloth library. The cloth library add-on. Okay, so it has a bug because I'm using 2.3. That's okay. Hello sir, my name is Chitan. Sir, if you have any spare parts of computer, so can you please give it to me? Man, I'm from the other side of the world. The shipping cost is just, yeah, sorry, can't. If the tree if the tree or leaves were glowing, like how you're thinking. If the tree or the leaves were glowing. So I need to make this editable first. So let me go this editable and just go to the leaves and make them glow. Now that's as simple as adding an emissive shader. Just blend it with this. Not a bad idea. So with that, we can also just rethink our lighting. So let's go to the lighting. We can have one main source of light. So it's also going to grab this Shift E type and move all my lights into the lights collection. Disable everything. And if we have also for this material, for the leaves here, if we're giving them that material, then now we can make sure that they don't have any shadows, and then just add a point light in the middle there. Just give it a very large light, same color. Let me. Control link object data and hide. Sleeping there must be a nightmare. Okay. Let's see. And I think we can set a custom distance for this so that the light doesn't go everywhere. So something like 10 or 5. Just duplicate this. I'm adding in these lights because there's a way it makes the leaves look, which I like. And I'm wondering where the other light is coming from. That's lighting up everything. So let's make sure that everything is in the lights collection. Yes. First hide kind of everything. If I hide this, okay, that's what is causing this light. Just change this to just a fiery glow of light. Just first turn off all the lights. Just so that the only light we are seeing is coming from the tree. Now I have this point light here. I think we need to bring it closer to the light. And another thing we can do, just to make this even look much prettier, is we can add a plane. Just because I want the tree to kind of seem like it's what have I done? Yo, thank you for subscribing, Karin Wetga. We appreciate that. Yes. Okay, where is my tree? Yeah. And then just make sure that all these lights are off, except the tree light. And what I want is to add a plane. This is going to be our new volume, and so something like this. Just want to make sure that it doesn't have any shadows. Your scene collection is a mess. Yeah, that's how I work, man. I don't name things. I don't. It's just a mess. As long as I understand where things are, I don't really care a lot. So what we're going to do is use this as a volume. So I'm going to add a texture, noise texture, texture, noise texture. Where is that? Noise texture, noise texture. That will give us a noise like that. Okay, let's go back to this. Come back to this for a second. I need this to use a texture, noise texture. Hopefully this. I think it's crashing because I have a lot of things going on. So I'm just going to concentrate on this first. Let's add this. Ctrl T. Okay, it's not crashing anymore. I can scale this on the Y axis like that. I'm going to add a color ramp. Like that. And then I can also get another gradient texture. This time we can use spherical, and I wanted to use, yo, thank you for subscribing, Flojera, really appreciate that. Can use object mapping, and you can just subtract it from, let's do subtract. Yeah, so we have something like that. Now we can scale this again in the Y direction, but move it just like that, because what we want is to have some kind of to have good rays. So now we can use a shader principal volume, and I use this as the emission strength. Okay, Blender seems to wants to crash again. Now you can see there. Now if we go to the materials, just change this color. Maybe I can even add a convert math node here and change this to multiply. Is this like a self-made IS? No, this is just I'm trying to create like some good rays for the scene. Make sure the density is 0. We need a lot of resolution for this, so instead of using the principal volume, I'm just going to use an emission shader. Let me see, a shader emission, and then a transparency shader, blend the two. This can be our factor instead of using the volume. I think we just have to switch these two around, and for this we can use the alpha blend. And I think we can also use convert color ramp here, so that we can clamp other values. I'm just going to increase the level of detail, level of roughness. Maybe set this to 10. Now this can be set as the color. That's how we can use a convert color ramp to colorize. This technique is very nice. Thank you. I think it's a nice way to get in some extra detail without doing too much. Make sure that I have bloom turned on. Okay. Actually, we can switch this transparency, or we can again add another translucent shader here, shader translucent. Before we add, can first blend these. Maybe instead of these, we can use a shader, add shader. Did you know you can use the alphabet to make it transparent? Didn't know you could use the alphabet. The alphabet? I'm confused. What alphabet here? Okay, so I want it to be quite bright here, but I'm not sure why it's not very bright. Let me try. Yes. And then we can bring back our lights one by one. Scale this plane and give it in the hand of the character as a scepter, glowing stick. Let me first duplicate it. As a glowing let me see. I think we would need to make this separate material and just make sure that the location of this is not shifted. And also we add a point light here. I think I can grab this light here. Just is alpha blend to make a transparent light? Alpha blend is to make to give transparency to the material you have created, to make it actually transparent and see through. Let's see. Gandalf. You know what would be interesting is to have a character. Okay, Blender has frozen. Okay, says unfrozen. Is it unfrozen? Okay, this scene is becoming really heavy. It barely moved the cursor. Okay. I think one interesting thing we could do, first get this character, is add another character here. So I'm just going to go to my medieval or Megascans collection, and I think I have a characters, have this character, this female character. I'll just need her silhouette in there. And so to get her silhouette, I think we need her to be in front of all the cameras. 50 collection. And just going to make her look dark. Let me just create a new material. A very rough material, because I just want a silhouette. Let's try. Maybe she's trying to fly into whatever the beam is. Okay, I think that's going to be it. Let's first play with a different lighting here, with a play with a different HDRI. See. Let me select all the buildings we have. Shift G type, Shift G type, and just move them in a different collection called view that. Now let me first disable them for a second. Get all the buildings as well disabled. These cubes are not necessary anymore. I'm trying to see if we can get another composition out of this, because I think this also looks nice. Cool but very freaky scene. Yeah. Let me see. Somewhere like that. I'm just going to get these lights, get rid of them. Let's see. Add a planet in the background, and it's a completely different image. Yeah, I think we can do that. That's the beauty of working. Let me see. Let me first remove this custom distance 20. Yeah, you start with something completely different and end up with something completely different as well. Actually, maybe you can even have these add a planet in the background, and we don't even have to spend that much time on the planet. All you have to do is just create a new material and just look for a planet material, a planet texture. Like this. What format is this? I don't get. This is SVG. What about if we use the moon? Just drag it in, and all we have to do is use projection mapping, projection from view, and just I can't find the image of this here. UV editor. Nightbot can be harsh sometimes. I'm not sure why it's called that. It has called that spamming. Let me see. Add a planet in the background. Let me just approve. Let me see. NASA. Okay, you're saying NASA planet textures. Nightbot banned you, but I'm not sure why it would ban you for that. Sorry about that. Just going to use this as a base color. Can use this also as the emission color. Just bring this down like something like that. And I think we can also, let me see, add a mix RGB here, change this to color. We just change the strength to something very massive. It's a software. Input is it's a software. A lot of our streamers use it. And another thing we can do is, okay, this is a lot of resolution for something we're not using anymore. So let's reduce this to 4. Another thing we can do is create some rocks. Yes. Yeah, Nightbot can be quite ruthless. Let's see, we can create some rocks. We'll just give it a displacement modifier. New. Clouds. I can change this to object or global, so that when we move this around, we can make a few of these, shape them differently, and they can use the same material as the surface. Now what we can do now is add a plane, and we give it a subdivisions surface. And what I want to do with this is shape it. I'll like turn on proportional editing, grab these faces. Yeah, it looks nice. Thank you. Yes, scale this. Okay, now Nightbot is just being, I don't know what. He's timing out everyone. I'm not sure how to change that setting. But I'll look into it later, because it seems it's just I don't know, timing out anyone who's chatting. And we're going to use this piece here as a particle source. I'm going to go to rigid body. Yeah, I'm new to using Nightbot, so I'm not sure why it's kind of burning out, turning off everyone, timing out everyone. So we want to use this as a particle system. I'm just going to change the source to volume, so that we have some faces, some particles on the inside. And I'm also going to go into the render, and we want these to be our particles. I'm just going to call these stones. grab this and change this from path to collection, and we want the stones to be our new collection. And, we don't need too many, we can use 500, and also make sure that the instance, we don't render the instance. And I'm going to go into the particle system, just play with the scale, random scale, like that. I think these are too smooth for my liking, so I can go in, make a few changes to them. And turn on modifier stack. I think we can also use a displacement modifier on this. So it's not only her that is going up, it's the entire stocks, anything in the way. Let's make a few of these